shall abide under the shadow of his wing. I him will I trust.
Hello, friends. Thank you for coming to visit me. And this morning I thought we would refresh ourselves a little bit about the beforehand story of these 10 commandments. So I'm going to Exodus chapter 19 and verse 1. In the 3rd month, when the children of Israel had come out of Egypt, they camped in a desert of Sinai. And Moses was called up into the mountain by God. And the Lord said, "Thus shall you say to the house of Jacob, and tell the children of Israel, you have seen what I did to the Egyptians, and how I bare you on eagle's wings, and brought you unto myself. Now, if you will obey my voice and keep my covenant, then you shall be a peculiar treasure unto me above all people, for all the earth is mine. You shall be unto me a kingdom of priests and a holy nation. And these are the words which you shall speak to the children of Israel." Now Moses called for the elders of the people, and they answered and said, "All that the Lord has spoken we will do." And he returned the words of the people unto the Lord. And the Lord told him to sanctify the children of Israel for 3 days, and then gather them together. And Moses did. He went down from the mount and sanctified the people, and they washed their clothes. And he said, "Be ready the 3rd day." And it came to pass on the 3rd day in the morning that there were thunders and lightnings and a thick cloud upon the mount, and the voice of the trumpet exceedingly loud, so that all the people that were in the camp trembled. And Moses brought the people, and after all of these things happening, the smoke and the whole mount quaked greatly, so it was shaking pretty much probably like an earthquake. And when the voice of the trumpet sounded long and waxed louder and louder, Moses spoke, and God answered him by a voice. And he says to tell the people not to come any closer, and he set the boundaries. So Moses went down unto the people and spoke to them. So now we're going to read the actual 10 Commandments, chapter 20, verse 1. And God spoke all these words, saying, I am the Lord your God, which has brought you out of the land of Egypt and out of the house of bondage. You shall have no other gods before me. You shall not make any graven any image, any likeness of anything that is in heaven, or the earth, or the water under the earth. You shall not bow down yourself to them, nor serve them. For I, the Lord thy God, am a jealous God, visiting the iniquity, the wickedness of the fathers upon the children, until the 3rd and 4th generation of them that hate me. So if you've often wondered why some people just, nations, he's talking about nations here, and why some of them really, where there's famine and war and all of that. This verse 5 tells us why. And verse 6 says, and show mercy unto thousands of them that love me and keep my commandments. So this is the generation of those who we get mercy if we love him and keep his commandments. Verse 7, thou shalt not take the name of the Lord thy God in vain, for the Lord will not hold them guiltless that takes his name in vain. A lot of people believe that that only applies to cursings, but I believe that it also pertains to those who say they are godly, who proclaim his name. Anything, they're proclaiming the name of God upon themselves that they're one of his, and they're doing it in vain because they're not really living up to being one of his people. Number 8, remember the Sabbath day to keep it holy. 6 days will you labor and do all your work, but the 7th day is the Sabbath of the Lord thy God. In it you shall do no work, neither your son, nor your daughter, your manservant, nor your maidservant, nor your cattle, nor the stranger that is within your gate. So this is that you're not going to demand that your family, nor your worker, if you own a business, nor your animals, if you're going to go out and plow. In the old days, they used animals to plow the fields. So that's what this is saying, that you nor anybody that you can order about or demand something, you should get a day of rest too. For in 6 days the Lord made heaven and earth, the sea, and all that was in, and he rested the 7th day. Therefore the Lord blessed the Sabbath day and hallowed it. Now, this was reiterated here in the 10 Commandments, because this is something that was actually instituted at the creation. If you go into the very first 2 chapters of Genesis, you will read how God did bless this day. And it actually, Jesus tells us that the Sabbath was made for man and not man for the Sabbath, because it was given as a rest day and a blessing to us, and not just an ordinance or something, oh dear, we have to do this. No, it was to bless us, because even medical doctors will tell us that we do need a day of rest to be healthy. Verse 12, honor your father and your mother, that your days may be long upon the land, which the Lord your God gives to them. Now the first 4 of these verses are for our benefit with God. They're directly for us. But the second batch that starts at verse 13 is for our dealings with our fellow man. Because if you remember, when Jesus was asked what were the greatest, he said the first was God, love God, and the second was to love our neighbor as ourselves. So in verse 13, we're going to start telling how we're supposed to react with a neighbor that we're supposed to have as much regard for as we do ourselves. Verse 13, thou shalt not kill. Thou shalt do no murder. Thou shalt not commit adultery. Thou shalt not steal. Thou shalt not bear false witness against your neighbor. You shall not covet your neighbor's house, nor his wife, nor his servant, his employee, nor his ox, nor his donkey, nor anything that belongs to your neighbor. Now, of all these that we're supposed to keep, I believe the last one is really the hardest, because it talks about coveting, envy. And envy is poison. It is poison. And it will cause us to steal. It will cause us to commit adultery. It will cause us to lie about something. And so I think it all boils up in this verse 17, the 10th commandment, that you should not cover anything that belongs to your neighbor. And in the Good Samaritan parable, we find out who our neighbor is. And all the people saw the thundering and lightnings, and the noise of the trumpet, and the mountain smoking. And when the people saw it, they were removed afar off. In other words, they ran to a distance. And they said to Moses, "Speak with us, and we will hear. But don't let God speak with us, lest we die." They were very fearful of the presence of God. And Moses said unto the people, "Do not fear, for God has come to prove you, that his fear may be before your face, and that you sin not." This is what's happened to our whole entire world. We do not fear the God who made us. We do not fear the one who showed signs and wonders, and I might add, still does. We do not fear the one who's in charge. We think we are. And what father does not want goodness for his children? So, he wanted to show them that he was real. And most of us don't believe he's real. The people stood afar off, and Moses drew near unto the thick darkness where God was. And the Lord said to Moses, "You shall say unto the children of Israel, You have seen what I have talked with you from heaven. You shall not make with me gods of silver or gold, or your gods of gold. And the altar of earth that you make to me, you shall not sacrifice any burnt offering and peace offerings or any of these things. In all the places where I record my name, I will come to you, and I will bless you. And if you make me an altar of stone, you shall not build it out of something that you have used a tool upon, because that will pollute it. Neither shall you go up by steps unto the altar, that your nakedness be not discovered. Therefore, this is kind of interesting what he told these people. He told them not to make an altar of anything that they created with their hands. That's the gods of silver and gold. So I must point out here that the statues and the things that we might say are just replicas, we've been told in this here that we should not do that. We should love the Lord thy God with all our heart and all our soul and all our might, in spirit and in truth. This is how Jesus clarified our respect. He said, "For these are the people that God wants to worship him." So these are the 10 Commandments that were given to us. Read how they were given. And the story goes on that when Moses came down from the mountain among the people, because they were afraid to talk to God, and so he went up and privately talked with God, and God wrote these 10 eternal words, 10 final words on our behavior here. And he took them down and found them. They were dancing around a golden calf, which they'd been told not to do. And Moses he just was angry and threw the stones on the ground. They broke. He had to go up and get them again. So these 10 final words of our behavior were given twice by the finger of God. My whole purpose this morning is so that we will all refresh ourselves of what God actually said. Not what we've heard all our life, not how we want to twist it or turn it or add to it or take away, but these are the words that he gave. And Jesus' teachings revolved to clarify these words. He said he did not come to nullify or do away with the law, but he came to fulfill it. In other words, he was going to do it because we couldn't and we didn't. And he said that whoever would teach these would be the greatest in the kingdom, and he who did not teach them would be least in the kingdom. But our prosperity, our rewards, our goodness, being in the line of blessings, comes when we walk in the ways of God. We walk in the blessings. One of my pastors talked about that if someone was standing on a step somewhere and they were handing out money, if we were on the other side of the city and not there where they were being handed out, we would miss. We would miss that handouts that were coming. So therefore, if we're not standing and participating in the ways of God, we're not going to be blessed. But the promise is that we will be blessed coming in and going out. So that is my little thought for the day. And I thank you for coming and spending this time with me. And until we meet again, I wish you all the blessings, all the wisdom that come from learning and being in the line of God's blessings and in His favor, in the goodness that He wants for all people.
Only with your eyes shall you see